G'day guys and welcome back to your English Aussie. FPL is back for the 25-26 season. I've got a lot of great stuff for you guys this year. You can check out my merch store down below in the link if you're interested in t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, hats and lots more. I can get customizable name and number on the back if you send me a message in the DMs or down below in the comments. A lot of great stuff for you coming up on this video. We're going to talk through all the new price points for the players. We're going to talk through my first draft game week 1 team. I'll talk through the optimal strategy for the new rules and the new 4 chips for the first half of the season. And if you want your game week 1 draft team rated by me on this YouTube channel, what you have to do to get that done. So strap on your boots and let's jump straight into it. So here we are, the new game, the new layout for FPL, which personally I'm not a big fan of how they have set it up this season. However, the game is back as good as ever, and I'm going to run through some teams, some picks, and what we're looking at so far this season. So first up is the goalkeepers. And the price points are quite high. You've got Jordan Pickford at 5.5 million. He's along with Raya, Becker, and Edison this year. Pickford's been the top point scoring goalkeeper in the past 2 seasons, and that is what has given his rise. You do have Trafford here coming in from Burnley at 5 million. I know they had a fantastic defensive run last season, and that might be what has given his inflated price. Henderson, Sanchez, Leno, and Onana, Pope, Sells all coming in at 5 million. The 4.5 million goalkeepers who do look like a bit of potential so far this season are the Bournemouth pairing, Neto and Petrovic, Kelleher at Brentford, Verbruggen at Brighton, and potentially Meslier at Leeds, Areola and Patterson at West Ham and Sunderland. So to start this season, I have gone for a lineup of Areola for West Ham. They've got a really nice fixture against Sunderland for the first game week of the season. And along with him, I have gone for Kelleher of Brentford. They're up against Nottingham Forest in the first game week. Having lost Elanga and Gibbs-White, that could be a nice fixture for Brentford, now being managed by their set-piece coach from last season. So I think potentially they might be a little bit more solid at the back this year. So into the defence, and this is where there has been a lot of rule changes in FPL this year, and you will see that defenders get additional points for defensive contributions if they manage 10 in total of clearances, blocks, interceptions, and tackles won. They will get 2 additional points, and that's capped at 2 points. They won't be able to score more than 2 additional points. And if you look into this data a bit further, I really think that this is quite an overpowered point scoring system for defenders, and really favours tall centre-backs. So the tall centre-backs are those that they're going to get lots of clearances, as they're going to win the headers, win those corners, head it away, the long balls up, head them away. Those are the sort of players that are going to be benefiting from these additional 2 points. As well as that, it will be teams that have low possession, or when they're potentially playing against better teams, they are more likely to pick up more, as they're going to be in more defensive actions and defending more against those teams. So teams like Nottingham Forest and Everton, who have a very low possession count and play quite a lot on the counter-attack, especially Nottingham Forest, you'll see benefit from this, along with their tall defenders and centre-backs being the main beneficiaries. So as we say that, I have decided to go for Virgil van Dijk over Frimpong, over Kirkez, over Ait-Nouri. I think the additional 2 pointers that he's going to pick up for these defensive contributions are going to be really crucial to him being a great player this season. If he picks up 20 points, let's say, that's around 6 or 7 assists for a wing-back. So I really support going to these big tall centre-backs this season. You can see he's priced quite nicely, 6 million again, along with Kukurea, Frimpong, Kirkez, 8 Nuri, all of those sort of big hitters. I have gone for Van Dijk ahead of Gabriel and Saliba because Gabriel and Saliba are not involved in as many of those actions for Arsenal. Arsenal do manage to have just a lot more possession of the ball and therefore don't end up with their centre-backs going for attacking headers or clearances that often against teams. Elsewhere in the defence, and you look at the prices here, you can see Reece James at 5.5, Lewis Skelly at 5.5. Those are the sort of ones that you'd expect with the wing-backs. Then comes Munoz in there at 5.5 million this year. Not too much of a surprise given his great performances last season. But then you do see Tarkowski and Branthwaite of Everton there at 5.5 million apiece. And that is really due to these new defensive contribution rules for this season, which last season would have seen Tarkowski score an extra 44 points on top of his 105 for the season. That would have taken him up to, and if we look at total points here, that would have taken him up to around 149 points, which would have been second in all defenders last year. So for me, Tarkowski under this new rule is a big plus for me inside, along with Everton's nice early fixture against Leeds. Definitely someone that I look to have into my side. Another one who may be looking to benefit from this is Lacroix of Crystal Palace, who's also at 5 million for a centre-back, as well as Collins at Brentford. They both have that sort of aerial threat at the back and will be picking up multiple of those points. But I have gone for the slightly cheaper Mark Guehi of Crystal Palace. If he stays there at Palace at the end of this season, I expect him to also be picking up those points similar to Lacroix. And priced at 0.5 million cheaper, I think Guehi's a nice way into that Palace defence. The other person, again, I've been looking at these additional defensive contributions, and someone who would have picked up a lot more points is Murillo of Nottingham Forest. He would have got an additional 34 points, ending up on actually 164, which would have been the highest scoring defender outside of, if you don't add these additional points on for the season. He would have scored more than Guardiola at 153. So for me, I am putting Murillo into that team. And then I am just looking for a cheap defender. And I did do a little bit of research in here to Leeds and who their tallest defenders are that had the most clearances, block, interceptions and tackles last season. And it was Joe Rodon at over 1.9 meters tall. He got, I think, around 150, 190 clearances last season for Leeds. So he goes in for game week 1 against Everton, who again play quite a direct long ball style, hoping for him to pick up some additional points. Leeds also drew 0-0 with Manchester United in the pre-season friendly, so they perhaps have a chance at keeping a clean sheet. And just a quick shout out, if you haven't already, please, if you could like this video, subscribe down below to the channel. We're just a small channel trying to grow at the moment. Would really appreciate that. Let's get straight back into the video. On to the midfielders, and this is where the difficulty lies this season. We've got Mo Salah up there at 14 million. And if we filter by price here, you can see Palmer at 10.5, Saka at 10, Bruno Fernandes up to 9 million, Wirtz coming in at 8.5, Mamouche downgraded to a midfielder at 8.5, Son coming down at 8.5, could be interesting, and Bumo at 8, Cunha at 8, both moving to Manchester United. And then you've got Eze, Gakpo, Gordon, Gibbs-White all at 7.5, and then a lot of 7 million midfielders here. Very expensive for those mid-range midfielders. The Rodgers, Maduekes, Netos, Savinhos, Elangas, Johnson, Maddison, all coming in at 7 million this season. Rice even coming in at 6.5. Mitoma holding that. Enzo coming up to 6.5. Sarr up at 6.5. McAllister's a bit of an interesting one in there with Soberslai on 6.5. Who could, depending on who is in that starting three for Liverpool alongside Wirtz and Gravenberch, could be interesting. What I think looks really nice here is Ryan Cherky of Manchester City at 6.5 million. A really nice run of games for Manchester City at the start of the season. Wolves, Tottenham, Brighton, Manchester United from an attacking point of view. And I have brought Cherky into my side. Ahmad's here up at 6.5 million. Bruno G. So the new defensive contributions also do come into play for the midfielders. They have to register 12 clearances, blocks, interceptions, tackles, and they also have an additional stat, recoveries. That is part of that stat. And that is probably one of the big stats for the midfielders. And some of the guys that really do benefit from that are Caicedo of Chelsea. He comes in here at 5.5 million. But he would have picked up an additional 40 points last season on top of his 98 points to take him to 138. Just based off the amount of recoveries that he does. He was over 200 recoveries last season. Bruno Fernandes, another one of the big hitters that also would benefit from something like that. However, for the beginning of the season, I have decided in the midfield to stick to what I like and to go for the big haul players, and I've gone for Saka against Man United in the first game of the season. I still don't think Man United are going to be fantastic defensively. I think Arsenal are going to be really good this season, so I have gone for Saka. We'll see if Gyökeres comes in to Arsenal before the end of the season. He might be somebody that tickles my fancy at that stage. I've also gone with the main man, Mo Salah. I think he's tough to leave out of any side. And then to bolster up the squad with some budget midfielders who I think might be some quite nice picks and maybe go under the radar a little bit here. I have gone for Thomas Souček of West Ham. Last season, Souček did manage 9 goals and 2 assists. He started to play a little bit higher forwards in that sort of 3-5-2 formation for West Ham, in that sort of attacking 10 roles. Very good in the air. Also gets a few clearances, a few recoveries, a few tackles, does a bit in that midfield. Might have got maybe an extra 10, 12, 14 points from those defensive contributions last season. That would have taken him up to around 140 points last year, which I think is a really nice return. If West Ham can be a bit more prolific going forward with Souček in this role, I think he could be a really nice buy. And Dwight McNeil, someone that I think obviously missed a bit at the end of last season, but a really nice first fixture against Leeds. A good opening fixture run with Brighton, Wolves and Aston Villa in that first 4. And I would like to have him in my team as he is somebody who really points for the price point last season, especially for the minutes played, was fantastic. And I will go on to show some of those stats in a later video before the season starts. On to the forwards now. The forwards would also get those defensive contribution points, but given that they don't get involved in a lot of those actions, don't expect many of these forwards to be picking up any points at all. However, I do really like João Pedro. I thought he played fantastically in the Club World Cup for Chelsea in the first couple of games. Nicholas Jackson is going to be suspended for that first game of the season until the 22nd of August, which will be that second game against West Ham. It looked like João Pedro did enough in those games to win himself that starting spot over Delap. So he has gone into my team at 7.5 million, which I think is a really nice price point. Solanke as well, with Son looking like he's on the outskirts of the team, with Thomas Frank moving over to Spurs, talking about how he might be in a bit of a reduced role. It could be that Solanke takes over the penalty duties for Tottenham, and a first fixture against Burnley and upcoming fixtures, Man City, Bournemouth, West Ham and Brighton over the first 5 is quite nice for me. So I have gone for Solanke. And my final striker up front is Yohan Wissa. With Mbeumo having moved to Manchester United, Wissa might take over penalties as well for Brentford. He was fantastic last year, and if he does stay at Brentford, I think he's still really nice at that 7.5 million price point. Keep your eyes out for Gyökeres. Keep your eyes out for Ekitike. If those two come in and what their price points might be, I'd expect them up at around 10.5, 11 million, similar to Alexander Isak for this season. There's a few other nice options at 7.5. You obviously got Chris Wood and Mateta, but the fixtures for the start of the season and the other options just seem nicer for me. Havertz, if Gyökeres comes in, is just not an option. And you see Jared Bowen here at 8 mil has moved to become a forward this season. Now, the reason that I have made my team like this and that I have gone for 15 playing players in Game Week 1 is because of the new changes to the rules in FPL this season, and that is that you can have all 4 chips in the first half of the season: bench boost, triple captain, wild card, and free hit. You have from game weeks 1 to game week 18, and then you have them again from game week 19 to game week 38. You get all 4 chips again to use in the second half of the season. So in game week 1, I am planning to use the bench boost. I do strongly suggest looking into this at least. I think it is the optimal strategy for the season. I was even considering this before the changes came out. Game week 1 is the only game week in the whole season that you can pick 15 players and you can use your bench boost in the same week. Every other week, you have to wildcard the week before into a bench boost. Things can change in that game week. Players can get injured. Things can happen. If you're confident in your starting 15, you think they're all going to play the first game of the season, bench boost could be the way to go, using it early. There's a lot of variances early in the season, so one of my suggestions for this season is to use these chips in those first few weeks. Bench boost game week 1, free hit potentially in game week 2, looking to maximize the best fixtures there. The players that you can see may be a great value for money at that point, and then look potentially to use your wild card in game week 3 if your team that you've used for that first bench boost week is not the team that you want to go long term with. If you want to bring down the amount of money that you've got on your bench, go for some cheaper players. You've got a couple of games that you've already seen what the sort of teams managers are going to be putting out are. A lot more information. An early wild card here could be really crucial, especially given that one of the other new rule changes this season is you get 5 free transfers in game week 16 for when players start going off to AFCON. You've still got the ability to save up 5 free transfers prior to that, so you could make 5 free transfers in game week 15, have 5 back for 16 and use 10 free transfers over those 2 weeks. It's almost like an additional wildcard in the first half of the season. And then, of course, from game week 19 onwards, you get all 4 of those chips back again to use. The beginning of the season is where there is the most variance, where you're unsure of the teams that the managers are going to put out, where the managers are unsure of the tactics they're going to use against opposition teams. So you can't judge where the players are going to play. That's why there's so much variance at the beginning of the season. When it gets into that back half of the season, especially in FPL, you sort of understand who the good price points are, who the good players are, what tactics the managers are going to use. There's not as many surprises, and that's why a lot of the teams become template later in the season. So use those chips early in the season, maximize your potential points, and you can go on to get a really high rank in FPL this season. That would be my advice to all of you guys. I'll keep going with some additional drafts as I see some more transfers coming in, potentially a no Salah draft, potentially a Salah and Haaland draft, just to see what those sort of ones are, give you guys a little flavour of what I'd be looking at and some other players that might be interesting. If you want your Game Week 1 draft team rated by me on this YouTube channel. I'll shout out your socials. I'll give you some advice on what I think I would do with your team, what I like, what I don't like. Comment down below. Put your team down below in the comments. Give me the socials that you want me to call out. Check out some of my videos last year. I did rating your wildcard teams, rating your free hit teams. That's the sort of style I'm going to be looking to do. If you do want to be shouted out on one of these YouTube videos, let me know down below in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel. Please be a subscriber if you want to get involved in this. I'm still a small channel trying to grow. If you would like to support the channel further, you can become a member of the channel. It ranges from 75 cents to $3.75 per game week. That's about 40p GBP to about £2 for the different membership tiers. For tier 1, you will get priority replies in the comments and in the live streams, especially useful when we're hurrying towards those late deadline decisions. You will have access to the loyalty badges and the custom emojis in the chat. For elite access, you will have access to the members only WhatsApp group chat where we discuss throughout the week different thoughts, different ideas. Even in the off season, we have been chatting throughout about different transfers and thoughts for the season. You will also have access to my FPL API automated spreadsheet, which will update automatically each week, giving you access to all the data at your fingertips, and you can have a play around and see what sort of players you're interested in. Of course, you'll have access to all of the previous tiers perks as well. And the all access pass, you will get a 1-hour call with me each week and discounted merchandise from my merchandise shop, which if you are a member of any level, before game week 1, if you have signed up to become a member, we will be doing a free merch giveaway. We will be giving away potentially a hoodie, a t-shirt, hat, any of these things that you see up here on the screen. You will be able to get that customized with your name and number or with a particular design of your choice. If you're interested in purchasing, check out the link in the description. Let me know in the comments or DM me on socials what you'd like, what name and number, what design, and I'd be happy to work something out for you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. It is great to have FPL back. This has been your English Aussie, and I will catch you guys soon with another video. Thank you guys.